Thor's Hammer. Thor was the proud possessor of a magic hammer called Mjölnir, or the Crusher, which he hurled at his enemies, the frost giants, with destructive power, and which possessed the powerful property of always returning to his hand, however far away he might hurl it. I am the Thunderer, here in my Northland, my fastness and fortress reign I forever. Here amid icebergs I rule the nations. This is my hammer, Mjölnir the mighty. Giants and sorcerers cannot withstand it. Saga of King Olaf by Longfellow. As this huge hammer, the emblem of the thunderbolts, was generally red hot, the god had an iron gauntlet called Jerngripper, which enabled him to grasp it firmly. He could hurl Mjölnir a great distance, and his strength, which was always remarkable, was doubled when he wore his magic belt called megin-giord. This is my girdle, whenever I brace it, strength is redoubled. Saga of King Olaf by Longfellow. Thor's hammer was considered so very sacred by the ancient northern people that they were wont to make the sign of the hammer, as the Christians later taught them to make it the sign of the cross, to ward off evil influences and to secure blessings. The same sign was also made over the newly born infant when the water was poured over its head and a name given. The hammer was used to drive in boundary stakes, which it was considered sacrilegious to remove, to hallow the threshold of a new house, to solemnize a marriage, and lastly, it played a part in the consecration of the funeral pyre upon which the bodies of heroes, together with their weapons and steeds, and in some cases with their wives and dependents, were burned. In Sweden, Thor, like Odin, was supposed to wear a broad-brimmed hat, and hence the storm clouds in that country are known as Thor's hat, a name also given to one of the principal mountains in Norway. The rumble and roar of the thunder were said to be the roll of his chariot, for he alone among the gods never rode on horseback, but walked or drove in a brazen chariot drawn by two goats, Tangin-Yoster, or Toothcracker, and Tangrisnir, or Tooth-Gnasher, from whose teeth and hooves the sparks constantly flew. Thou camest near the next, O warrior Thor, shouldering thy hammer in thy chariot drawn, swaying the long-haired goats with silvered rein. Balder Dead by Matthew Arnold. When the god thus drove from place to place, he was called aku-thor, or Thor the Charioteer, and in southern Germany, the people, fancying a brazen chariot alone inadequate to furnish all the noise they heard, declared it was loaded with copper kettles, which rattled and clashed, and therefore often called him, with disrespectful familiarity, the kettle vendor. So that was Thor's Hammer, the second section of Chapter 4 of Myths of the Norsemen by Helene A Guerber, Thor. I will be working my way through this book section by section, and if there are any other public domain books that you would like for me to read, please leave a comment below. Did you enjoy this video? Then subscribe for more, and be sure to check me out on Facebook and Patreon. Thank you for listening, and have a lovely evening.